All right, guys. So Daniel just knocked out Bangu, whatever his name is. It was an easy fight for me to predict. I'm kind of happy because I did make some money out of this fight because I did I put some money down on Daniel Dubois to knock him out within 5 rounds, and he knocked him out in 2 rounds. So yeah, this was one of those type of fights that you kind of knew the outcome because first of all, the dude that he just fought right here, um, he's a guy who pretty much had a padded record, and the minute he fought somebody with a post, which was Gerald Big Baby Miller, he got found out. Right? He got beat up and he lost, and the same thing happened when he fought Pulev. So um, that's why I 100% was picking Dubois to win because, especially by knockout, because the guys that knocked out, the two guys that he lost to, he got stopped by them, by Pulev and by Jarrell Miller, and both of those guys have never been known as punchers. Both of those guys have never been known as punchers. So I'm like, all right, if those two guys, Pulev and Miller, could knock out and stop this dude Bendu, whatever his name is, then Daniel's gonna knock him out for sure because he's a puncher. And you saw what happened. He threw it was a right hand. It was like an overhand right hand, and he knocked him out. Um, there's not really much to say about this fight. Was supposed to be like a comeback fight for Daniel Dubois because obviously he has not fought since he fought Joe Joyce 6 months ago, since he quit against Joe Joyce. So this was like his comeback fight. But we didn't really learn that much because the fight only lasted 2 rounds. So, we didn't really learn that really much at all. Daniel, to me, still looked the same. I know that he's with a new trainer, but, keep in mind, he's only been training with that dude. I believe his name is Shane McGuigan for like a couple of weeks. So you're not going to really learn much or change your style much in 2 weeks of training with a new trainer. So this to me just looked like typical Daniel Dubois. And he was in there with a guy who, in my opinion, was tailor-made for him. He was made to get knocked out against somebody like Daniel Dubois. So again, I wasn't surprised by this outcome. That's why I was so confident I put money down on it. But yeah, people are gonna look at this and they might say, okay, cool. He knocked out this guy faster than Jerome Miller and Pulev because you know how boxing fans always like to compare and stuff. But again, you have to keep in mind both of those guys have never been known as punchers. So he was supposed to knock out this guy because he's a puncher. He's known as a puncher. So, and he was supposed to. And he like I said, it took them several rounds to knock this guy out. So, I guess that's a little bit impressive. I don't know, but I would like to see Daniel in there with somebody who, and I believe this was for a vacant intern WBA championship, which, come on. Daniel just came off a loss, and he's fighting this guy who somehow is ranked high, I guess, in the WBA sanctioning bodies that they're fighting for the intern. That's just ridiculous because this guy did not deserve to be fighting for no WBA vacant intern belt, 100%. But I would like to see him fight somebody a little bit better than this. Somebody with more ambition. But the question is who? What's his name? I guess right now is the rebuilding stage for Daniel because obviously he just had one loss, and he's 23, so he has a long way to go. But, as a selfish boxing fan, I just want to see him in there fighting the top guys again. I hope that his next fight is not against somebody who's a downgrade, because sometimes Frank Warren does that where he'll put him in there against a decent name like this guy, even though I don't think he's really decent. But then he'll downgrade the opponent and put him in there against a guy who nobody cares about and no one even heard about ever. So I hope Frank Warren doesn't do that. I hope he actually puts Daniel in there with somebody with a post, or at least a better fighter than this guy. Who do you guys? I mean, were you guys impressed with this performance? Did you guys think, like me, that this was a foregone conclusion and Daniel was gonna knock the guy out? Were you guys impressed with the knockout? Again, I really didn't see a difference. I know he has a new trainer, and people are probably looking at the difference if he's changed at all. You can't really tell in 2 rounds. I mean, the fight lasted like a round and 30 seconds. No, yeah, maybe like 3 minutes. They did not last long that much. Daniel came out aggressively. He came out throwing combinations. The dude really didn't do much, to be honest with you. He was just the dude he was fighting. He was just really, in my opinion, just trying to survive. And he got caught. He got caught. But again, this is a guy who had a padded record. Because when he fought Jerome Miller, I thought Jerome Miller was fighting a guy with a padded record back then. So I never looked at this dude as like some top contender. If you look at his record, the guys he's won against are low. I mean, he just had his last two fights. The dudes he fought in his last two fights, they had like 8 losses in a row. The guy he fought last time had 8 losses, and before that, another guy had 6 losses. So he's been fighting nothing but low quality guys. The dude that he just beat. So again, don't look at this and be like, oh, he has 2 losses to Pulev and Jerome Miller. Yeah, but it's not like he had a stacked resume. It's not like he fought anybody who was names. He fought a bunch of nobodies, and that's why he was able to go 20-0 or whatever it was before he lost to Jerome Miller. Man, I know he sparred Derek Chisora, but I wouldn't mind seeing Daniel. I want to see Daniel Dubois in there with somebody like Derek Chisora. I just want to see him in there with somebody. We already see what happened when he fought Joe Joyce, but now I'll put him in there against another guy, Derek Chisora. Just put him in there against somebody who's just known, more known, known, and he's somebody. It's a name, I don't want to see him in there against somebody named Caballero, Camacdaro, or Amir Manalo. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear Daniel Dubois' next fight is against somebody who's 15-0 and his name is Alfredo Gonzalez Jr. And you're like, who the hell is this guy? Who the hell is this guy that Daniel's fighting? I hope, because that's always the pattern with Daniel's opponents. Is he fights guys you never heard of. So I hope that's not what Frank Warren does. I hope he starts putting him in there against, because he has to keep improving, and I want to see if he's changed as a fighter. I want to see him in there with somebody who has durability, and if he's improved as a fighter with Shane McGuigan and training him, and we're only going to be able to see that if he puts them in there, if Frank Warren puts him in there with better opposition. And that's all I have to say, guys. What you guys thought of this fight, let me know.